Good evening, everyone. A hand signal to indicate you can hear my voice, please. Thank you, one and all. Welcome, everyone, to the virtual meeting of the City of Town and Country's Board of Aldermen, Monday, October 12, 2020. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Thank you. Again, welcome, everyone. Meeting's hereby called to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Allen. I can see she's here. Alderman Benegas.
Here.
Alderman Fauci.
Here.
Alderman Holman.
Here.
Alderman Hughes.
Here.
Alderman Mortland.
Here.
Alderman Wiesahan.
Here.
And Alderman Whitmire.
Here.
Mayor Dalton is presiding, and we do have a quorum via video conference.
Thank you. The minutes from our meeting of September 28th have been previously distributed and considered by the board. I'll now entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Alderman Holman moves approval. Seconded by Alderman Mortland. Discussion. Alderman Holman.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to offer up an amendment to the September 28th minutes.
State your amendment, please.
Okay, during the communication section of the meeting, I reported that the Public Works Commission did not meet in the month of September, and we will meet this month in October on the 19th at 4:30 via Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Further discussion regarding the minutes. Well, first of all, does that amendment gain a second?
Second.
It does. Discussion regarding the amendment. Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
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 The contrary opinion, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously. Further discussion on the minutes as amended. Seeing none, all of the opinion the amended minutes should be approved. Please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary opinion, nay. The ayes have it. The amendments, the minutes are approved as amended. We're on the topic of hearing from citizens. This is the community's opportunity to offer their comments, concerns, or things of interest to the board's attention. Madam Clerk, I believe we have none that have been submitted thus far. Is that
No, sir.
Thank you. The minutes will reflect that no public comments were offered from citizens wishing to, or from individuals wishing to address the board. We have two public hearings this evening. The first one is a public hearing to consider zoning code amendments related to the regulation of fences, specifically section 405.150. I declare that public hearing open and ask our city clerk to please enter any exhibits.
Exhibit number 1 is affidavit of publication of notice of hearing, published in the St. Louis County on September 25th, 2020. Exhibit number 2 is typewritten notice of hearing, posted at the Municipal Center, on the city's website, and sent via Notify Me. And exhibit number 3 is bill number 2050.
Thank you. I believe our city planner, Ryan Spencer's on the meeting this evening with us. Welcome, sir. Thank you for being here. You're going to make a brief overview of this proposal and make yourself available to answer any questions.
Yes, Mayor. Mayor, Board of Aldermen, this series of amendments to our fence code is the first major overhaul since 1987. Our fence code has been virtually unchanged since that time. There have been questions lately about non-conforming fences and materials, so staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission came together to look at updating and upgrading our fence code. The summary of the changes is as follows. We've expanded the types of prohibited fences. We've established a section dedicated specifically to materials that are permitted to construct fences out of. We've created a maintenance section which did not exist for fences, so we can regulate the maintenance and enforce the maintenance of fences through our zoning code. We've also created a section dedicated to non-conforming fences and how they should be treated moving forward. We've added graphics as well to help the public. There's always questions about fences and where they can go and how are they permitted. So we've added graphics as part of this update. The one thing we have not changed is where fences can be located, the types of fences and where they can be located has remained unchanged. In terms of a front yard or rear yard or side yard, those fences that could be permitted before can continue to be permitted. And we've also added swimming pool fences and wildlife protection fences, which the code did not speak to before. So we thought it was prudent to add, especially swimming pool fences, which are for life safety, to reference our adopted building codes. And with regard to wildlife fences, you see those all over town, but again, our code has been silent on them, which technically means they're not permitted. So by acknowledging them, we can now regulate them appropriately. So that's just a brief summary of the amendments before you for your consideration. The Planning and Zoning Commission did review and unanimously recommended approval of these amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. Very good report. Appreciate your guidance as the Planning and Zoning Commission's considered these. Appreciate your reference to the indication that it's unanimously approved. The floor is open for questions of Mr. Spencer. Seeing none. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments on this matter?
Yes, sir. We'll be entering one email that contained 2 photos as well into the record from Layla Taylor from 25 Chapel Hill Estates. This email was forwarded to the board in advance of the meeting and will be attached to the minutes as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Further, seeing no further public comment or inquiry from the board, I declare the public hearing closed. We are now on the second public hearing of the evening. It's a public hearing to consider our zoning code amendments related to planned development districts, specifically Article Roman 14, Planned Residential Community Regulations, and Article 23, Special Zoning Districts. Before I open that public hearing, Alderman Weezahan seeking recognition.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And I just wanted to, while it's not necessary, I will be recusing myself from the public hearing and the first reading for bill number 20-51 due to a perceived conflict of interest.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your notation. The public hearing is now open, and I'll ask our city clerk to please enter any exhibits.
Exhibit number 1 is affidavit of publication of notice of hearing, published in the St. Louis County on September 25th, 2020. Exhibit number 2 is typewritten notice of hearing, posted at the Municipal Center on the city's website and sent via Notify Me. And exhibit number 3 is bill number 2051.
Thank you, ma'am. Once again, Mr. Spencer, welcome back, sir. You will provide a brief overview of these proposed changes and then make yourself available to answer any questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Very briefly, I just want to make 3 main points regarding the amendments before you. The special zoning district legislation was adopted in 2017 as a way to unify our plan development process. And we had used it successfully 3 times. Then we had a development Clarendale on Clayton Road, and there was a lot of concern in the community about plan developments as a tool at that point in terms of open-endedness and overt flexibility. So following that process, staff got together with the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we developed a series of amendments that are before you tonight. So basically what we're going to do is, what we're proposing to do is establish 3 specific types of plan developments within this tool: a planned non-residential development for commercial and retail developments, a planned senior living district, and a planned residential community. Planned residential community is an existing tool that's been on the books since 1987. So as part of that, we're just updating in order to incorporate suggestions as recommended by the comprehensive plan. So there'll be 3 types under these amendments. Second, we're geographically limiting where planned developments are permitted. So a planned non-residential district would only be allowed in areas designated in the future land use map as employment, local center, and commercial retail. So those are our highway corridors and our major intersections. The senior living district, planned senior living district, would only be permitted in areas designated for employment, which is our highway corridors. And the planned residential community currently is allowed for district zone, suburban low, suburban medium, Manderley subdivision, Polo Downs, they used a PRC. We've also added residential suburban areas designated on our future land use map as eligible for this planned tool. And that would include areas such as along 64 at the northwest corner of 270 and 64, and a portion of Principia's property along the outer road. So specific limited geographical areas. And then third, and most importantly, we've instituted a number of protections for single family residential adjacency. So we've established minimums for green space. We're setting a basement floor of 50% green space no matter what for planned developments. We're highlighting our natural resource protection standards, and by the fact that we're not going to allow them to be amended in any way. You have to follow our natural resource protection standards if you're going to do a planned development. If you're adjacent to residential, you're going to have to install a minimum E landscape buffer, which is our most stringent landscape buffer, and a minimum setback of 50 feet and a minimum height of 2 stories or 40 feet if you're just adjacent to single family residential. So we've established some minimums where before they did not exist as part of this tool to better protect our single family districts that may be adjacent in the future to some of these planned developments. And then finally, I would just mention also we've established a list of, I believe, 7 public benefits that must be shown to be a part of any planned development district that would be part of the findings if approved successfully by the Planning and Zoning Commission in this body. So those are the amendments in a nutshell.
Did that matter went before the Planning and Zoning Commission, and did it make a recommendation, Mr. Spencer?
Yes, sir. The Planning and Zoning Commission at their May 20th meeting voted 8-1 to approve these recommendations.
Terrific.
Recommend these.
Thank you.
Amendments.
These are very serious matters. This is one of the highest responsibilities this community has in serving its residents along naturally Chief Cavens with public safety and security. But this is one of our most significant responsibilities, and your talents and that of the Planning and Zoning Commission have served us well. These proposals were in response to several developments that people just were very concerned about. And this puts us in a better place as a matter of law and policy, and it preserves the nature and character of our community as we know and love it. Thank you for your hard work on this, sir. The floor is open for inquiry. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, are there any public comments?
No, sir, none were submitted for the specific item.
Thank you. Seeing no public comments and no further inquiry by the board, I declare that public hearing closed. The next item on our agenda is under the topic of appointments. 2 weeks ago, I announced, and the record will reflect that Alderman Wiesahan has rejoined the board's meeting, the board meeting. I announced my intent 2 weeks ago to seek your support for the appointment of Cassie Harold from Ward 1 to the Parks and Trails Commission. That has the support of the chair, and I would now entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Alderman Weezahan moves approval. Does that gain a
Second.
seconded by Alderman Mortland? Discussion. Seeing none, all of the opinion that motion should prevail, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any of the contrary opinion, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously. In 2 weeks' time, I'll be seeking your support for the appointment of Kip Underwood. He'll be an at-large, he would be, with your support, an at-large member from Ward 3, but under the at-large designation to the Public Works and Stormwater Commission. I've spoken to the chair regarding this appointment, and she supports the same. Please direct your comments, questions, or concerns to me, and we'll take this matter up in 2 weeks' time. We're on the topic of communications and reports. Alderman Allen.
Thank you, Mayor. Heard twice already this evening. This Friday, October 16th, 8:30, we will have the Ways and Means Commission meeting, and that will be via Zoom. Also, quicker, tomorrow morning, October 13th at 8 o'clock, the Fire and EMS Task Force will meet at Longview Farm. Social distancing. Thank you.
Terrific. Thanks to you and Alderman Mortland, who's seeking recognition, and maybe he wants to speak about this, but you have done some really terrific work on this. We've got some continued progress to achieve, but the analysis that you're doing is much appreciated. Alderman Mortland seeking recognition.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to put a big thank you out to the Town and Country Police Department, Chief Cavens, with regards to two matters. The more recent news that would the arrests that were made protecting our city down at Schnucks, and then also the recovery and the investigations that the men and women have been doing with regards to the stolen cars. So, and the constant reminders to lock your cars, because that's where the source of it. Thank you, Chief. Thank you for, and pass it on to the men and women of the staff.
Lock it or lose it. That's right, Alderman Mortland. Thank you for that well-deserved recognition and comment. Further reports. Alderman Fauci.
I want to report that the Planning and Zoning Commission will be meeting on the 21st of October via Zoom. We'll be doing a review of the sign code text amendments that are coming forward from the subcommittee. And on the 26th, the Board of Aldermen can expect our next zoning code text amendment regarding backyard chickens to come for a public hearing before the board.
Further reports. Alderman Holman.
Not to be repetitive, but Public Works will meet this Monday, October 19th at 4:30 via Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Further reports. Alderman Hughes.
Well, the Arts and Culture Commission, we held our first meeting. We had a quorum, and that was back on October the 5th. And there were a lot of activities coming up that we talked about. We do have openings on the commission since we had two resignations. We have an opening in Ward 1 and one in Ward 4. With respect to planned events, I'm not going to go into all the details, but we're talking about photos with Santa. And we're doing that over at Town Square. And then we're talking about photos with Santa with your pets. And then we're talking about bedtime stories. We're going to start that process where seniors will be asked to read bedtime stories. We'll do it online. And then the youth will be able to submit drawings that will be then in turn delivered to the residents who have been reading the stories. And the next commission meeting is tentatively, we're kind of looking at going to Zoom at this point. So I have it down for Monday, November the 2nd at 6:30, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I just want to at least make the announcement that we're working on the date. The Fall Festival is coming up, and that's on the 24th. And I spoke to Santa, and Santa said that he would be happy to read 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, and we're going to stage that over at Longview. Anyway, he said he could fit that into his schedule. And one last thing, we are looking for volunteers to wrap large boxes that I was able to secure that we want to use as a backdrop for the Santa display. And so if anybody, it feels like wrapping packages, I'm going to donate some wrapping paper. I've got oodles of it downstairs. And anyway, we just need people to come and do that, and that'll be our backdrop. As an aside, if I may say something kind of off the topic of the commission, in light of the fact that we as aldermen provide commission reports, I would appreciate if we could get the same from you, the mayor, and maybe the city administrator, especially highlight any organizations that you belong to. Like, for example, the Lafayette Area Mayors Organization, that's one that came to mind. And maybe any conversations that represent the will of the residents, because that would kind of keep us informed as well. That would be appreciated.
Sure. Thank you, Alderman. And congratulations on your work. Your commission has a real special community sense of community feel. And I was on an evening walk through Town Square and around Longview and happened upon your meeting there. And I congratulate you for coming together. It was a beautiful evening, and you brought your commission together, and you didn't have to do it by Zoom. You did it out there as socially distanced at Town Square. It's a wonderful venue for people to gather, and I applaud you and your efforts. I would welcome the chance to issue reports because, particularly, you referenced the Lafayette Area Mayors Organization. People have dramatically and pathetically mischaracterized the activities of that organization and what it has done and what it hasn't done. It's one thing to read a headline and miss the entire story below it, and then reported as if the headline had any relevance whatsoever. So I would be glad to report on my activities and clarify so that there's not continued mischaracterization or misinformation spread regarding those organizations.
I really appreciate it.
And what they haven't done. I am a regular participant in probably several organizations. The Metro Mayors Organization, which I am the vice chairman of, and have been for a number of years. That is an organization that has done significant work in support of our area's interest, including the matter I referenced before that relates to securing COVID or CARES Act funding on a per capita basis that was to Town and Country's substantial benefit by hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I think that's an excellent suggestion. Be glad to talk about my involvement with all of those organizations, and so that there isn't a misunderstanding, a mischaracterization, or a misuse of what those organizations do and don't do. Excellent suggestion. Further reports.
May I add something, if
Yes.
you don't mind? Okay. Also, I meant to say that I had a very nice conversation with the director of the Municipal League, and anything that we stream that he felt would be appropriate for other municipalities to partake of. So I'm thinking bedtime stories would be perfect, that they can put it out to all the other municipalities. So that's just as an aside.
That's a great aside. We are all in this challenge together, and as they always say, if you want to go somewhere fast, go alone. If you want to go somewhere far, then go together. And that's a good example of how working together we can all hopefully get through this pandemic and the challenges that it's presenting on not only our community but our entire region and world better. So, further reports. Seeing none, we'll move on. We're on the topic of unfinished business. The first item is Resolution R12-2020. It's a resolution approving an amended and restated declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions on for Boat Lane subdivision in the city of Town and Country. I understand, Mr. There he is. I see Trustee Ryan Kerner is with us representing the subdivision, and also resident Don Rocco is also on. I see Mr. Rocco and Mr. Kerner. Um, First of all, before I ask our city clerk to enter public comments, I'd like to get a motion to approve.
So moved.
Alderman Holman moves approval. Does that gain a second? Alderman Allen seconds that motion. Discussion, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. I will be entering an email with attachments from Don Rocco at number 1 Bope Lane into the record. This email was distributed to the board in advance of tonight's meeting, and I'll attach it to the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The motion's been made, seconded. We have representatives from Bope Lane. The floor is open to the board first, and then I believe Mr. Rocco wishes or is seeking recognition. First, comments from the board. Alderman Hughes.
If I may, I think it's important that we clarify a few things. So I'm going to ask the city attorney to explain the Board of Aldermen's role in this process, if you would, please.
Thank you. Alderman Hughes, counsel.
Certainly. Our code provides that the city attorney is to review and the Board of Aldermen is to approve subdivision indentures and amendments to the indentures. There are a list of things that we are to look at, and the number of items that we don't look at probably exceed the list of items that we do. We aren't rewriting the indentures for the subdivision. We're not writing the indentures for the subdivision. We are making sure that certain mechanisms are in place that benefit the city. For instance, and I believe one of the reasons why this was why the ordinance was adopted that requires the city to review them is that, as you know, any subdivision that gets built in the city is built with private streets or streets that are to be privately maintained. And one of the directives that I have as a city attorney is to review the indentures to make sure there are sufficient mechanisms in place so that the city can raise the money, whether it be through assessments or special assessments in order to repair their roads. There are certain other things that we look at, but we do not write the indentures, and we sometimes will make suggestions, as we did, I believe, when these were reviewed about. Sometimes we'll point out to the trustees that there's a variance between what our ordinances require more often than not, or zoning ordinances require, that there's a difference there between that and the indentures. And just so that you know, subdivision indentures can be more restrictive than our code, but it can't be less restrictive. And if it is less restrictive, we'll ask that they change that. If it's more restrictive, we may point it out to them that that's the case, and it's up to them to make the decision, because indentures, subdivision indentures are essentially a private agreement between the property owners.
Thank you, sir. Alderman Hughes, does that satisfy your interest in an explanation?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Further discussion from the board. Alderman Fauci.
If I could get Steve Garrett's opinion also. I know that one of the emails we received stated that the indentures had an error in one of the grantors who claims to not having agreed to this and not wanting their name listed as a grantor. So does our approval of these minutes in any way inhibit them from removing their names, I guess is my question of council.
Right.
I don't think we're asked to approve the minutes.
I apologize, the indentures.
Indentures. Council, do you have a response to the alderman's question?
Yeah, when we received the indentures, obviously they haven't been adopted yet because we're supposed to review them before they are adopted. And in this particular case, the indentures did have a provision at the beginning that I believe it was Mr. Rocco and his wife were declarants, and the indentures defined the declarants of the indenture as supporters of the indenture. And we don't really look at that. We don't know who's a supporter and who's not. We assume that the subdivision trustees will not list someone as a declarant if they have not voted to in favor of or to approve the indenture. So we didn't make that recommendation because we didn't know who the supporters of the indentures were. And we would never know that at the stage that we get them. But what I would say is that it would behoove the subdivision trustees to remove anyone, Mr. Rocco, and I believe his wife, or anyone else for that matter, that hasn't voted to approve them. Does that answer your question?
So yes, partially. Then the second part of that is, does our passage of this resolution in any way inhibit the Roccos from having their names removed?
No, if they don't, I will say this, if they haven't voted for it or don't vote for it, I believe their names should be removed as declarants, because under the indenture itself, they're not a declarant, because a declarant is someone that is in favor of or approves the indenture. I assume that when the indenture was drafted, whoever drafted it put down all the names of the subdivision property owners, and presumably they would exclude those names if those folks did not vote to approve the indenture. So, but if you approve it tonight, that in no way is going to imply, in my opinion, that anyone that hasn't voted for the indenture voted for it. In fact, if you look at the end of the indenture, it lists, as it should, all of the people that have supported it and voted in favor of it.
Okay, I'm going to give Mr. Rocco the last word on this subject because we have heard from him, but I'm first going to recognize Mr. Kerner and see if he has anything for the benefit of the board.
Good evening, everyone. I would tack on to Mr. Garrett's comments in that these indentures haven't been presented to the neighborhood to be officially voted on yet. And that's the intention of, once we have the official vote count, those who voted in favor of the indentures would be listed as declarants, and those who did not would, of course, not be listed as declarant. This is simply a culmination of having a couple months of input from the neighborhood on what our indentures should be. And then we submitted this to Town and Country for their suggestions, and now hopefully tonight their approval. So that then after this, we present this final version to the residents of Boat Lane for their vote.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your involvement with this and your joining us this evening. Mr. Rocco, I understand you would like to address the board.
At this point, I appreciate what your comments were, and you've gotten exactly what I've been asking to do. So I'm very happy with what I heard with the attorney, and I'm looking forward to having that done with the time it's submitted.
Thank you, sir.
And I want to thank the board, and I was we're Ward 1, as you know, and my two wardsmen were wonderful. Pam and Barbara Ann were very helpful, and your staff has been extremely helpful to me on this matter.
Mr. Rocco, I can't tell you how much that means to me, because both the staff and the board do their best at discharging their duties, and your comments mean a great deal. So thank you, sir. Thank you for being with us. Alderman Bennegus seeking recognition.
Thank you, Mayor. Just have one question for Mr. Kerner. From what, if I might, Mayor?
Yes, please. Proceed.
From what's been distributed to us, it appears as if one of the attachments was, I'm trying to pull it up here, so give me 1 second if you would. One of the attachments is what it appears to be something of a vote, which is, it doesn't have a title on the page, but it says yes on one line and no on the other, and a signature line as to whether they approve the Boat Lane Homeowners Association Incorporated. You'd indicated there hasn't been a vote. Can you explain this document to me?
Sure, that's a completely different matter. So when we initiated 3 new trustees of the neighborhood, one of the tasks that we were asked to do was to look into, well, 2 of the tasks is look into indentures for the neighborhood, since they hadn't been updated in roughly 60 years, And then as part of that, to also create a homeowners association for our neighborhood. The fear was we have some common ground, and the neighbors are essentially unprotected as individual homeowners. And the fear was we could all be sued individually if we don't have an entity to protect us. So we hired an outside counsel to look into creating an HOA. We this is some time back, roughly a year ago, had the neighbors all contribute and have a several month time period to contribute their comments to creation of the HOA. A vote was taken, probably using that. I don't have that form in front of me. I'm assuming that was submitted by Mr. Rocco, but a vote was taken to formalize the HOA. The 17 homes in the neighborhood, the votes were 15 in favor of creation of the HOA, 1 against the creation of the HOA, and 1 who did not vote for the measure. And
thank you. That answers my question. It's a moving forward vote, not an indenture vote.
It's
right?
that was for the HOA, so completely separate
gotcha.
from the indentures.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Very
Mayor.
Good discussion. Thank you, Alderman. Further discussion? Seeing none, motion's been made, seconded, and fully debated. Madam Clerk, I'm sorry, would those in favor of the motion please signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any to the contrary opinion, any to the contrary opinion, nay? The ayes have it. The motion's adopted unanimously. Thank you, one and all, for your participation in this matter, and good luck on Hope Lane.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Item number 2 is Bill 20-49. It's sponsored by the board as a whole, and without objection, would our city clerk please read that bill for the second time?
Bill number 2049 is an ordinance amending Title I, Chapter 115, Officers and Employees of the Town and Country Municipal Code, specifically by the amendment of Section 115.020 regarding the election and term of the city clerk.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So
So
moved.
moved.
So moved.
Alderman,
Second.
the one that wasn't talking over everybody was Alderman Benega, so the motion will go to him, and seconded by Alderman Mortland. The motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Benegas,
Aye.
Alderman Mortland,
Aye.
Alderman Allen,
Aye.
Alderman Whitmire,
Aye.
Alderman Holman,
Aye.
Alderman Weezahan,
Aye.
Alderman Hughes,
Aye.
and Alderman Fauci.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously and becomes ordinance number 4389.
Thank you very much. We're on the topic of new business. It's item number 3 on our agenda, Board Bill 20-50. It will be sponsored by the board as a whole. Without objection, would our city clerk please read that bill for the first time?
Bill number 2050 is an ordinance amending Title IV, Chapter 405, the zoning regulations of the Town and Country Municipal Code, specifically Section 405.150 regarding fence regulations.
Thank you. Bill 20-50 will be continued to the meeting of Monday, October 26th for a second reading and consideration. We are on item number 4. It's Bill 20-51. Before I, that bill will be sponsored by every member of the board with the exception of Alderman Weezahan, who is recusing himself from this discussion. And it will be so noted for the record. Without objection, would our city clerk please read that bill for the first time?
Bill number 2051 is an ordinance amending Title IV, Chapter 405, zoning regulations of the Town and Country Municipal Code by the amendment of Article 14, planned residential community regulations, and Article 23, special zoning districts.
Thank you. Bill 20-51 will be continued to the meeting of Monday, October 26th for a second reading and consideration. Item number 5 is Bill 20-52. It It will be sponsored by the board as a whole. And without objection, would our city clerk please read that bill for the first time?
And Mayor, before I read that bill, I will note for the record that Alderman Weezahan has returned.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am. Very appropriate.
Bill number 2052 is an ordinance amending Title 5, Chapter 500, Building Codes and Building Regulations of the Town and Country Municipal Code, specifically Section 500.080 regarding architectural review.
Thank you. Bill 20-52 will be continued in the meeting of Monday, October 26th for a second reading and consideration. We are on item number 6. It's Bill 20-53. It's sponsored by the board as a whole, and without objection, would our city clerk please read that bill for the first time?
Bill number 2053 is an ordinance requesting that St. Louis County distribute 47 million of CARES Act funds on a per capita basis to the municipalities within the county to be used for eligible expenses, authorizing the city administrator of the city of Town and Country, Missouri to accept CARES Act funding and execute a municipality relief program funding agreement, and confirming agreement to indemnify and hold harmless St. Louis County from such distribution.
Thank you. Bill 20-53 is continued to the meeting of Monday, October 26th for a second reading and consideration. Item number 7 on our agenda is a warrant list. It's in the amount of $207,088.43. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Alderman Allen moves approval. Does that gain a second? Alderman Mortland seconds the motion. Discussion. Alderman Hughes.
I had mentioned it once before under like animal care services, when they pick up a dead deer, could you please put the location on there? That would be appreciated. Like if it was picked up in,
Yeah,
you know, on Hawthorne Estates, my street, or, you know, I think it would be,
corrected.
yeah,
Pardon me?
Mr. Shelton.
yes.
Mayor, if I may, what I would propose, instead of trying to delineate that on our warrant list, is potentially as if we just provide updates to the board when
Okay.
those are picked up.
That's fine. Either way, that's fine. Thank you.
That was going to be my comment. It's a fair question, but it's probably extraneous to our warrant list, and yet it would be appropriate for briefing of the board, and Mr. Shelton will see to it that happens. The motion has been made and seconded. Discussion regarding the warrant list. Seeing none. All of the opinion that motion should prevail, please signify by saying aye.
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 The contrary opinion, nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries unanimously. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
And Hughes moves adjournment, seconded by, didn't catch that, I'm sorry.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Allen. All in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
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 Of the contrary opinion, nay. The ayes have